Hi, Mike Flores here on behalf of iTradingU, and let's go over the charts for the week. We're going to start with the E-mini S&P futures market. And what I want to point out here is we made new highs earlier in the week and sold off hard on that day. Notice we flirted with breaking those lows, but we've since then come back above, so we have a little consolidation zone happening here. I think an important level to look at here is this swing low down here at 1936 and a quarter. And then below that we have the 50-day moving average and the 20-day price low. So those are the levels to watch. At the moment, we're still in an uptrend, so we'll continue to take long positions in the E-mini S&P market. A couple things to note on the fundamental front. Consumer confidence hit up the highest levels it has since 2008, which is very bullish for the market. Also note that ISM numbers are flirting with 4-year highs, which are also very good because when the ISM is over 50, it means that the market is expanding, and it's a good sign for the market. Jobless claims also fell to 7-year lows, so these are fundamentally all good reasons to stay long the market. And again, the technical picture looks well in that favor as well. So no trade there, just pointing out some things to take a look at. Let's move on to gold. So looking at the gold market, we talked about this market last week as well. We're still flirting with this 55-day high and 20-day high here. We're above the 20-day and 200-day moving averages, and the ADX is blue and rising, meaning that this trend is starting to gain some momentum. We're consolidating here over the past week, and I really want to see this break out in order to get some more momentum. We talked about this previous high at 1330, which is now also the 55-day high level that we're talking about, same level. So until then, we're just going to be sitting by and watching this market there for the current moment and looking to play a breakout of those highs. I want to look at copper. We talked about copper a few weeks ago, and we talked about copper when copper was down in this zone the last time, and we said we were just stalking it to see what happened. And since then, we've broken and closed strongly in that market above the 50-day and 200-day moving averages. We're now flirting with that 200-day moving average. We've had some mixed price action over the past couple of days here, but we're still above that 200-day moving average. And what I'm looking at now is if we can stay above that and get above this 55-day high, we have some real good action going in this market. Now remember, we said that copper is always a proxy to the market because people look at copper as an indicator whether homes are being built, pipes are being used for plumbing, all types of things. Copper has a lot of industrial uses. So I would buy copper on a break of this 55-day high with my stop at the low of the breakout bar. All right, and that's a longer term move that I'm looking for there. Let's go over to the energy sector, and we're going to start with Brent Crude. We talked about Brent Crude last week as well, and we see we've retreated from the highs in Brent Crude. And at the moment, I'm watching these levels down here, the 112 area. This is the support zone down here that I'm watching to see if we break this zone, this market could be retreating. Currently, the ADX is still rising, saying that the trend is still intact. However, I'm watching the price action and noticing these big red down bars, and I'm keeping those in mind. So we want to see that we don't get below this support zone here because it could mean a correction in this market. Crude, let's go over to crude. Okay, looking at the crude market, we can see here that we've also had some sideways consolidation in this market. Notice how we made new higher highs and now we've made lower lows. So this market's kind of confused at the moment in which way it wants to go. And what I'm really looking to play here is this inside day. So we've talked about this inside day, the inside day setup now for the past few weeks. So the way an inside day works is the high and the low are engulfed by the previous day's high and low, which we can see here on this chart. So how I'll play this is I'll buy on a break of the high with my stop at the low, or I'll sell on the break of the low with my stop on the high. Now we're above the 50-day and 200-day moving averages, which means that we're probably still in a bullish trend. We can see we're still going net higher. But again, remember, I'm watching closely to see what happens here, whether it breaks lower. And if we can take out these lows, this might mean that we have some neutrality in the market trying to sort its action out, whether we're going to continue higher or go lower. So that's what I'm going to look at in the crude market. Let's go over to currencies. I have a bunch to look at today in the currencies, and we're going to start with dollar yen. We spoke about dollar yen last Wednesday, and we talked about the symmetrical triangle that we saw being built. And I'll quickly draw those lines. And we see that we broke through the low of that. We talked about getting short that with the stop at the high. And notice now we've had 3 down days on that market. So if you got short that trade, I probably would upgrade my stop to being the low of the triangle now, or the high of Friday's close bar. Notice how the ADX is moving up, meaning that the trend is gaining momentum. So what we really would like to see is us break this 55-day low and continue lower. And that would be the next trade I would look at. I would look to pyramid the position and add to it if we broke on a break of that low. And if that does happen, I would leave my stop at the high of that breakout day. So that's what we're looking at in dollar yen. Let's go over to the yen crosses, and specifically, let's go over to euro yen. We talked about euro yen last week, and that market as well is flirting with its 55-day low. Out of all the yen crosses, the euro yen is the weakest one. Aussie yen and sterling yen are actually pretty strong. You can look at those charts, but I want to focus on euro yen. Euro yen is below the 50-day and 200-day moving averages, and we're flirting with the 55-day low. I would like to see a break of this happen for a longer term move, and I'll sell on a break of this move with my stop at the high of the breakout bar. You can also look to play this inside day, which is why I brought this up. So we can see we're below the 50-day and 200-day moving averages. So I would look to weight more of my risk to the downside. So on a break to the downside, I'd put a bigger position than if I broke to the upside. So again, I would look to sell on a break of Friday's low with my stop at the high, or buy on a break of Friday's high with my stop at the low. And remember, the inside day is really a 1 or 2 day trade. The 55-day trade could be a bigger, longer term trend, meaning a week, 2 weeks, maybe even longer. So those are two different ways to play the yen crosses there. Let's go over to the Australian dollar. Now looking at the Aussie market, we can see that we've had a small consolidation here, a tight range here over the past couple months, and we are above the 50-day and 200-day moving averages and back to flirting with the 55-day high. I really want to see this swing high taken out of here to get a real strong move up. Notice the ADX is above 20 and just is going stronger, which means the market is starting to trend. So again, I'll buy on a break if it breaks this swing high here, and I'll leave my stop either at the low of that breakout bar. Actually, I'll leave my stop at the low of that breakout bar. All right, let's look at the Kiwi, the New Zealand. Looking at the Kiwi market again, as we said, we talked about this last week, and look at it, broke higher on a strong move, but then closed back below the line. I really want to get long this now on a break of Thursday's high. If you're long already, that's okay. Your stop would be down here, most likely, or if you're a little more conservative, you might have it down in this zone. I would look to buy a break of this high with a stop at the low of the breakout bar. And this again is a pretty strong trend that we see that resumed back over here on this break here. And again, I'm looking to play this week. I think this may resume this week. Now let's go over to Euro Sterling. We talked about Euro Sterling for the past few sessions, and we've been short this for a while now. What I'm looking at in Euro Sterling today, though, is the inside day. Notice we had the strong move down, and we've been consolidating over the past few days. And notice how the ADX has gone flat. So the market's not really trending lower anymore at the moment. It's just consolidating at this time. What I'm really looking to see is what this inside day does. And again, I'm probably going to put more weight to the downside just because we've had this big, long trend down. And I want to continue to weight that side lower until proven otherwise. So I will sell on a break of that low with my stop at the high of the day. And I put more weighting on this side of the trade. An alternative trade you could do is the sterling versus the dollar. This is really a sterling play. Sterling is showing some big strength recently. And let's move over to the sterling. And we can see this here. It's above the 50-day and 200-day moving averages. The ADX has gone blue and is rising. And I'm looking at this consolidation period here. We have a flat, we have a mini trend line that's forming here. Let me draw that. We have a mini trend line there that if that holds, that's good for us. So I look to buy on a break of this 55-day high with my stop at the low of the breakout day or at the trend line low. One or the other, depending on how conservative or aggressive you want to be with your trading. That's one way to play that market. All right, let's take one last look at the last trade of the day, the last chart of the day, and let's go to dollar CAD. Now, we talked about this market, and this has been a good market for us. It's been a strong winner at the moment. We sold on a break of this 55-day low, and notice how the trend is really starting to accelerate higher here. And we see this breaking lower every day. We talked about this inside day as well here, which probably would have gotten us stopped out because we did break on the high here, but it did close on the low of that day. So it's just something else to look at. It would have been a reversal bar. You could have sold that, but we didn't talk about that during the week, but that's something else to look at. All right, and I did not sell this one either. All right, so now this is just something that we're just watching. We're stalking this chart to see how much lower it can go. There's really not many big levels until we get all the way down here into the 106, to the 106 to 105.60, 106 area. So we got another 60 pips lower before we should see some type of stop. And that's what I'll be watching in dollar CAD. So right now, I'm just short and holding it. We've had three strong closes down, last three. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a small retracement here. But I would keep my short because this is strong weakness. And CAD is being also supported by the strength in the oil because the Canadian currency is supported by strength in oil because there are a lot of oil fields up in Canada. All right, this is all I got for today. Look forward to talking to you guys later in the week. Everyone have a great week. Good luck. And on behalf of iTradingU, this is Mike Flores. Have a good one.